everyone. Welcome to the Pharmacy Friday podcast. My name is Jason Benedict. I'm one of the co-founders of RX Ambassadors, and I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Dr. Amit Kakar from Avalon Pharmacy. Hey, Amit, we've got another exciting episode today. You ready to get started?
Good morning, Jason. Absolutely. Super excited.
Vivian, tell us a little bit about your independent pharmacy and where you're located.
We're in Long Beach, and Pharmacy's been there for about 54 years now. So we took over something that was very well established in the community. So it was really nice because we got, a lot of trust from patients all around, a lot of good relationships with the doctors, even a lot of retired doctors. So it was nice jumping into that, not having to build it from scratch, but there's a lot of challenges trying to keep up with that and trying to improve because we took over from the best. People loved them in the community. So it was a lot of challenges for us to try to keep that up and, keep everyone's trust in us.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's been great. Learned a lot over the past couple of years. And, now we have relationships with the providers and patients ourselves that we're trying to maintain. And then in addition to that, facing daily challenges like Amit was talking before. So challenges, yes, with staffing too, I would agree. And then with insurances is more prevalent now with the new year.
Yeah.
Insurances being switched over without patients' knowledge, I feel like. A lot of our elderly patients got different plans, overnight. And so that's been posing a lot of challenges because they used to owe, let's say, $10 on a prescription, and now suddenly it's like $300. So this week we've been trying to figure that stuff out for the most part.
Wow. Yeah, totally can. I'm sure Amit is ringing bells with relation to what you just shared. So Vivian, tell us, how long have you been a pharmacy owner, specifically at your location?
Pharmacy owner for 3 years.
Okay.
Pharmacist for a little over 11 now.
Okay. And what's been one of your biggest challenges with taking on the ownership side of the role, switching from pharmacist to pharmacy owner?
I would say biggest challenges, well, now you're in charge of everything, right? If someone doesn't show up, you can't call the scheduler to send you and you to look for a new pharmacist, you're kind of stuck. So that's a really big challenge. And customer service, I would say, is the biggest thing. I mean, we did a lot of customer service at corporate pharmacies, but when it's your own, you really, you can't lose anyone, you got to really put in your best and take a lot of time to create one-on-one relationships. I feel like when we used to work for corporates, like there's a lot of other, pharmacists or technicians with you that can help build that relationship. But when it's your pharmacy, it's you who has to build that relationship with people. So you got to invest a lot of time and ask about their day, make sure everyone's, greeted with their last name or first name, however they like to be greeted. So it's just investing a lot of time on a personal level, making sure, there's no staffing issues. Let's say a driver doesn't come for delivery. Well, then we're stuck. A lot of times we have to go do deliveries ourselves, but yeah, you try to work it out as best as you can.
Yeah. And remind us again, Vivian, what's the name of your pharmacy?
Yee's Pharmacy.
Yee's Pharmacy. Okay, very good. And do you have any areas of specialty? Are you like kind of a hybrid? Do you do primarily retail, long-term care? Tell us a little bit about the pharmacy and some of the patients you serve.
Yeah, so we do compounding and retail as well.
Okay.
So Andre is my husband. He takes care of the retail aspects and I take care of the compounding. So I specialize in hormone replacement therapy, vet and anti-aging. I feel like that's what I do the most. So we do a lot of vet suspensions for cats and dogs.
Yep.
And then a ton of, hormone replacement and anti-aging creams for ladies, which is nice because I'm heading that way. So I'm learning about it before I get there.
There you go. There's always a benefit when you're the pharmacist and you're, going in that direction. You get to learn it yourself. And I think that also that experience provides a better connection in relation to the patients that you're serving, right? When you're and when you're focusing on that area of specialty. So is Andre, who's on today, is that your husband? And you guys are a husband and wife team?
Yeah, if he's on, yep, that would be him.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah, that would be Andre.
Okay.
awesome. Amit, did you have anything you wanted to add to any of those topics that Vivian had shared with us?
Yeah, no, hi Vivian. I just want to say
Hi.
I actually I grew up in Cerritos, so I know the area really well, Long Beach. It's a fantastic area. I was actually going to ask, it's a very competitive space, obviously, as all of our areas are. But
Yeah.
I think you answered that question in terms of your niche. So is your demographics, would you say primarily, is it the older, are you getting both a mix of older and younger? Or how do you describe your demographics?
I would say more leaning towards the older. I would say more
Okay.
of elderly patient. And then obviously most of the patients I compound for are, women postmenopausal, perimenopausal. So just getting there, those are the ones that are
Sure.
interested in hormone replacement and anti-aging and whatnot. And then we'll get the younger ones just because their grandparents have been in the area or, parents grew up in the area, but mainly elderly patients, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you find yourself educating them as well in terms of hormone replacement? Is that something you specialize in?
Yes. Yeah. So I actually
Very cool.
I'll do like saliva hormone testing, and then I'll read the lab results and I'll work with the gynecologist like one-on-one. So gynecologists more over the years have been relying more on me to read the labs and make my recommendations. And then they decide if they want to sign off on it or not. So I've been doing that because a lot of things are missed, and gynecologists are so busy.
Sure.
Like it's the pharmacist who can really take time and take a deeper dive into things.
It's very cool. And did you find it challenging to establish relationships with the gynecologist since you're technically newer, when you
Very
took over the
challenging.
business? Yeah.
Yeah, very challenging. Like you said, it is a
Sure.
very competitive area.
Yeah.
They already had long established relationships with people. So it was very challenging, but it's, over the months and the years, they were able to see how much I actually care. And, I'll go the extra step for the patients. And it's not just a matter of filling their prescription and getting them out the door. No, I want to get things right. I want to get their symptoms managed. I want to make their lives better because when women's hormones are messed up, like their husbands are upset, everyone's upset. So gynecologists really see that I'm taking the extra step in making sure that they feel better on a day in, day out basis. And that's over the years, that's helped them, confide more in me and put more trust in me to any issue they're having. They'll pick up the phone and say, hey, what do you think about this?
Absolutely. I feel like as pharmacists, one of the challenges that we face is just establishing that credibility with the physicians. A lot of times we don't. I've had this since I've been doing this for almost 25 years. In the beginning, if I feel like sometimes with physicians, they feel like we might be stepping on their toes, so we have to be very careful and mindful that these are their patients and that we have our value. So I was just love to learn how you came about those those hurdles. But that's fantastic work.
Yeah, it's a lot of day in and day out conversations with them, conversations with the patients. And a lot of the patients will go back and tell the doctor, she really took a lot of time to talk to me and made sure to call and check in on me. Like a month later, I would leave myself notes and check on them, see how they're doing, what their progress is like. So it's made a difference over time, thank God.
Absolutely. I feel like the patients are our best advocates, right? Whether it's for marketing purposes or whether it's for credibility. When the patient speaks up, all of a sudden with pharmacists, it adds so much credibility, which I love that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it does. Yeah. Your patients put their trust in you. And I feel like then they're referring their husband to me and then they're bringing their cat or their dog, whatever it is. So yeah, no, it's a great trickling effect for sure.
Fantastic.
Vivian, I'd love to talk on the fact that you do kind of both, right? You said you're a retail and a compounding. So we had a compounding pharmacist on last week, and she talked a lot about, you really got to be passionate about compounding in order to get into that. So how did you kind of create this hybrid, pharmacy that offers both retail and compounding? And is it your husband who does more compounding? Is it you? Tell us a little bit about the dynamics behind that.
No, it's actually me. I came in thinking I was just going to do retail, and then things just fell into place. Compounding was already established at the pharmacy, maybe like 15 years before we got there, 10 to 15 years before. So it was already established, but I didn't have it in mind. I tried compounding in school, but that was ways back. So when I got into it now, it was just, I felt like it was amazing. You know, I was kind of getting tired of retail. And retail's really become more of, you know, just get prescriptions out of the door. It's not really looking into things, or not, we don't really have time to have relationships and really get to know the patients. And with this, it was just amazing because you deal with women, you really help them feel better. You really do make a difference in their lives. They'll call and they'll say, thank you. You know, I was at the, verge of a divorce because my hormones are all over the place, and now I'm feeling better. And my husband's also thankful. Or when it's compounding for a cat or dog, hearing things like, oh, you saved my cat or saved my dog, it really does make you happier on a personal level. So it was really interesting to me when I got in, because when I was practicing retail world, I had no idea what compounding was really about, and it's amazing the things that we can do that aren't available commercially. Things to make like medications more palatable for patients. Let's say children can't swallow pills. Well, now we can make it into liquid formulation for them, and it's easy to swallow. So you've just made that child's life easier. You've just made them better, So it opened doors that just really interesting to me. And I felt like I can jump in a different market and help people on a different level and be involved differently, not just, what's commercially available is what's available, but I'm helping make things easier for people. And that was really interesting to me. So yes, I did have that passion, and I really wanted to dig deeper. And I've been learning a lot over the years, with seminars, with just asking questions to the clinical teams back and forth, working with doctors on solving issues, things that I didn't know. I've learned a lot about so many different aspects when it comes to compounding. So now I can go in and troubleshoot, if you will, when something's going on. Yeah.
What's one thing in the last year, in 2023, that you did that created maybe more opportunity or more growth for your pharmacy specifically?
What I've been focusing with, I've been working with Dr. Heidi Reganis. She's a very well-known plastic surgeon in Newport Beach. Mm-hmm. And we've been working very hard for the past year and a half, I would say, on an anti-aging formulation and adding GHK copper, if you guys have heard of it. So that's been doing really well, and it's opened up a very good niche for us because we're able to reach out to a lot of other plastic surgeons, med spas, and a lot of clinics that have women in need. Mm-hmm. And it works really well. Like, you can visibly see it erasing wrinkles, is what a lot of women tell me, like ironing my wrinkles out. So that's something that I've been focusing on. And I feel like it's unique to her and I. We put our heads together and we've been working to adjust. We started with one thing and then added other things, removed some things, but we finally tweaked it to where we feel like it's the perfect formula. And we added biopeptides, which is new. I hardly see anything on the market with biopeptides, right? And it's what your skin matrix is made out of. So it's wonderful to have, and it's been working really well. And plastic surgeons have been thriving about it with her. So that's something that, I was proud to be a part of, and I'm glad I brought to the table.
I love you mentioned it's partnerships, right? Like finding ways to connect and partner with other people and finding common passion. One of our listeners actually has a question for you. So Sally has asked, how did you move from retail to compounding? Did you take classes to initiate your business with compounding?
Yes. Yeah. So took classes through PCCA. And took a couple of courses, and I went through some training as well. I would say like extensive training when it comes to that. And then of course, a lot of lectures and a lot of like book reading as well. But yeah, so it wasn't like overnight, sudden change, but yeah, there's a lot of training, and PCCA actually has a wonderful course you can fly over to Texas and take. And then there's a lot of training from there, a lot of videos through the membership on the website that you can, watch and listen to, just get knowledge about what's going on. And then there's always updates. So, try to stay on top of it as much as I can, whether it's law or clinical stuff. So it's ongoing learning, I would say, continuous learning.
For sure. And the timeline, the durations, I'm sure Sally's kind of wondering, like, if she wants to make that shift into compounding, What did that take in terms of once you started taking the classes to complete the classes? Maybe share a little bit about that too.
I would say like time-wise, maybe 3 to 4 months, if you're on it and you're really focused and you put all your energy into it. Because I feel like it's a completely different world, right? We're not even dealing with this. A lot of the compounding meds are not even available commercially. The doses are certainly different. And then just learning all the machinery, the capsule machines, the cream machine, or how to make liquids and how to crush things into fine powders. There's techniques that you have to learn. But I feel like if you do have the passion for it and, you're set on learning, we'll get there. Pharmacists are smart cookies, right? We'll get there. We'll get it.
You'll find a way to innovate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's right. You end up adding your own touch to it and you find I've learned techniques certain ways, I've been taught certain ways. And then just by experience as I'm working, I figure, hey, it's actually easier if you do this. So you end up adding your own touch to it,
I want to touch on partnerships again, just because I know that's a big factor of growth. I'm not sure if she joined in a little bit later, but you mentioned how I asked you the question of, what have you done to create growth in your pharmacy? And you talked about a partnership with a local plastic surgeon. So Amit, I'd love you to talk about how you have created an outreach program to local doctors in your local community of Yucca Valley. So maybe you can share a little bit for our listeners.
Yeah, thank you. So we've partnered up with, of course, RX ambassadors, and we've been able to start engaging with patients, which Vivian, we've taken the route of our email marketing to kind of captivate. So what was happening with our pharmacy is we were lacking connection with patients. So basically kind of what you talked about a little bit is we're in a retail setting and of course, and patients come in and out, but we have no engagement with them. And that was our big kind of our missing moment there, especially during COVID, right? When everything kind of disappeared. So
Yeah.
So our establishment was, we're in a smaller town. So I'm in a town called Yucca Valley. It's about 25 miles of near Palm Springs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a smaller town, and it's a different town, but it's very small, so small community. So we're trying to figure out how can we get engagement with patients. We were engaging with doctors. So we established a partnership with RX ambassadors where we said, look, can we please help us with our patient connections? We started with email engagements. We went to newsletters and videos, which is why I was asking you in terms of educating your patients. What a great way to connect with patients by just educating them, right? That's huge. That's the connection. So we started with patients. And over the last 4 years, we were able to gather about 5,000 emails and almost 9,000 patients that I didn't know that we had. And that was just through establishing partnerships. Now we're connecting with the doctors and educating them. And as we talked about, that barrier was such a tough barrier to cross because they all want to know, right? What value do you bring to our patients? It's interesting. I used to always think it was what value do you bring to the physicians? And of course, that's part of it, but they all want to know, what do you bring to our patients? And I think just by connecting and establishing that partnership with the email marketing and with the connections, whether it's videos or newsletters, etc., whatever your passion is. But yeah, thank you, Jason. I just want to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah. And also, Amit, you're doing outreach too with it's automated, but handwritten postcards to the doctors. So every month or so, each of the doctors in your local community also get a handwritten postcard, even though it's fully automated, it looks handwritten, that sends them and just says, hey, thanks for the referrals, right? So every month they're getting touches from you, even though you're not physically there or, in the pharmacy. But one thing I wanted to mention too, that I just made a connection to that Vivian mentioned as well, is, that their doctors don't have the time to build the types of relationships that the pharmacies are taking. So Vivian, what would you say is like a common differentiator between you and maybe other pharmacies and or what your patients have stated about the relationships that you've created with them and how you've gone above and beyond maybe some of the local physicians and doctors that they're trying to get that information from or trying to build those relationships with?
I would say the thing that I usually hear over and over again is, thank you for not treating us as a number. When they walk into like a CVS, let's say there's tons for CVS workers there to do. So it's like, go, 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 they're just a number. They're usually waiting for a really long time. So getting them in and out the door in a reasonable time, especially when I see like a sick kid there or, someone who really can't stand for a long time. It's like when they walk into the bigger chains, they'll leave them hanging, but they don't get that experience with the smaller pharmacies. So they love that. And they also love that when they're refilling, we'll have a personal conversation. Hey, how is your back doing? I know last month you were having trouble. Or, hey, how's your mom doing? You didn't come in with her this month. Someone that usually comes in with their mom. So they do appreciate those kinds of things. They appreciate us getting in and out on time and just being really cordial, making their experience, they feel welcome when they walk in, making their experience just as smooth as can be. A lot of the big chains don't have time to reach out like that or have those conversations, and they're waiting for half an hour and up to get simple antibiotic.
Yep.
So I feel like that's where we make the most difference. And elderly patients, we try to communicate to them, maybe you have to speak a little louder, or you have to communicate with their caregivers. So we'll take the time, I remember when I used to work for big chains, if we call and the elderly patient picks up and they don't understand what's going on, well, we're going to hang up because we have to go to the next person. But I feel like with smaller pharmacies, then we'll take the extra time to get in contact with whoever their caregiver is to make sure the message is being delivered, to make sure they're taken care of. So those small things I feel like make a difference in the long run.
Love it. And Vivian, I know this question most pharmacists always like to know is like, what are you doing to drive in more patients, more customers into your pharmacy? I know we talked about the partnership side and that kind of specialty that you're doing there. Is there anything that you're doing, marketing wise to drive in new patients? And please share with us any strategies that you might be willing to share with other pharmacists.
Honestly, I feel like the biggest thing, I've done visiting the doctors and, getting our name out there and whatnot, but I feel like the biggest marketing strategy after being in it for a couple of years is just having really good customer service, because that eventually, expands. They let their relatives know, they let their friends know. And I feel like that's the best marketing tool you can have. I feel like when you mail flyers and whatnot, that's great, you're having outreach, but a lot of people probably just toss those in trash, just having good relationships and good communications with people, I feel like ultimately is the best marketing strategy you could have.
Yeah, I love watching and reading Amit's reviews. Every time he gets reviews, it's patients just raving about how the customer care and the service that he and his staff provide. So I know that relationships are what makes and breaks the opportunity of long-term, care and having patients for longer. One thing that you mentioned earlier too, I want to touch on just a few more questions for you, Vivian. Is you talked about the vet side of things and helping to support their pets. How did you kind of expand into that side of it with your pharmacy that allows you to not just get the moms and the dads and the brothers coming into the pharmacy, but now you're also bringing in the pets into the farm to servicing the pharmacy?
Yeah. So, initially it was just making oral suspensions. That's when I took over anyway. That's what it was like for pets mainly, right? Oral suspensions, maybe some capsules. And then I had random phone calls and random people walk in inquiring about things like gummies or like chews for pets. So I thought, let me dig deeper. And so I did. And I reached out to clinical team and figured out how this gets done, what bases I need to have. And okay, let's give it a try. So then we gave it a try, and then that dog loved it. And then so on and so forth. Try it with more dogs. So then I started letting vets know when they called in, like, hey, I can make this into a chew or a gummy. Letting in, people that come in with their prescriptions. Hey, if your dog or your cat doesn't want this, oral solution, or they're not taking it, then we can put it in a chew, or we can flavor it with peanut butter, just things that are different, just, little innovations that go a long way. So trying different things and kind of getting a feel of the market and how people like it and how the dogs and cats like it, and then improvising from there. So when I get a positive response, then I do more of that. So a lot of it is just, people's needs. They just come in, hey, do you make this? And my first thought is no. But when I think about it again, like, let me dig deeper. Let me see if this is something I can do, And a lot of times it's interesting. And, since I'm passionate about it, I want to know how to make something new. I want to learn something new. And we try it and we see how it goes. If it's a success, then, it becomes a staple for us.
Absolutely. Vivian, do you have a storefront as part of your pharmacy?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have an OTC section, and we have like a lot of the what people wear for pressure, I'm losing the words.
Compression?
The compression, yeah.
Stuff. Sorry. Compression stuff. So we have a very large section of that. And so a lot of the podiatrists would refer people specifically for that. We used to have the hospital across the street, so there was a big niche for that, but can't figure out what they're doing with the hospital for now. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any more questions for Vivian today?
Yeah, no, Vivian, I love all this. I'm actually taking notes myself of all these. It's fantastic. I mean, being relatively new to the business. So it sounds like you did a retail pharmacy for 11 years prior to coming off on your own. Is that correct?
Yeah. And I sort of did it all over the place. So I feel I've collected experience from different, areas with different demographics, different clientele, and different companies as well. So, I feel like I've picked up from, and there's the good and the bad, so I tried to carry whatever I can learn and implement that into my own business.
Yeah, sure. No, I remember as a student, I worked retail pharmacy for actually in Long Beach, as a matter of fact. There used to be a Save-On there on Stearns, Bellflower and Stearns. And I remember, I believe it's CVS now, but I remember learning so many things, both positive and negative, and taking them into the business. And to this day, I still hold on to them. So I'm sure for you must be something that have worked in your favor. So it's fantastic. It's great to hear your story.
Thank you. You too. Thanks.
Vivian, I got just one more question, because I know this is typically a question that other pharmacists like to know who have a storefront. Maybe what's been one of your most popular items over the counter that you've sold, or a product that has been in more demand maybe than others, that maybe other pharmacists should think about positioning, promoting?
Yeah, I would say stock up really well on cold and flu, especially during the season, and a lot of the vitamins, because a lot of people will call and tell us that like zinc or echinacea or vitamin C is out elsewhere. And so having good stock of that is definitely helpful around this season. A lot of the cough syrups and, just the AM, PM cold and flu, I would say, keep those well stocked during this season for sure.
Yeah, it's funny because Amit has just been telling me about he created a whole section for vitamins and probiotics, and now he's in the process of actually building an online course that's going to be highlighting vitamins and he talked a lot about the education side. So Amit, maybe just share that passion with Vivian and kind of plant that seed with her to think about how she can maybe use something of what you're doing.
Yeah, Vivian, thank you. Thank you, Jason. Vivian, I keep going back to the education part only because I'm now designing a course. I'm into diet, mindset, and fitness. So my course is diet, the ratio between diet and mental health, and just our way of educating patients, because obviously mental health is huge. But it's just interesting how once you're able to engage with the patients, now we can take it a step further in educating. And that could be one avenue that I'm sure you're already looking at, but you have so much knowledge in compounding. You could put something together for for compounding for pharmacists or with patients, depending which type of, or for pets, patients are and their pets. But so many avenues to pursue to teach other pharmacists that look, these are things you can do outside of filling prescriptions, right? I feel like filling prescriptions is the baseline, of course. We all have to do it as a revenue generator, but there's so many other revenue generating items, especially with the DIR fees and all these things that are coming at us, right? That we have to find, okay, now what's the next revenue, instead of fixating on, okay, these DIR fees are here. What are we going to do next? And how do we respond? It all comes down to basically responding. So yeah, that's sort of the next step, I think.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of different avenues that you can go down when it comes to the vitamins and whatnot. And it would be really interesting for me to look into. That's definitely a very interesting route to take. So it's exciting when we're doing different things, right? It's what keeps us going, because we're doing the same monotonous thing. You want change, so change is good, and that would be really interesting for me to look into. So thank you for sharing that.
Very cool. Vivian, thank you so much for joining in today and sharing your story. We'll let you know once the podcast goes out. We like to distribute it out to the 6,000 independent pharmacies that we have on our list. And so we appreciate Sally jumping in and being part of the process. If there's any additional pharmacists that are listening that would like to be interviewed on our show, please feel free to text the word pharmacy to 602-878-6007. Again, you can text the word pharmacy to 602-878-6007. We like to interview new pharmacists each and every week, share their stories, their challenges, their triumphs, and all the innovative things that they're doing. So thank you so much for joining us today, Vivian and Amit. Always a pleasure. Looking forward to next Friday.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to meet you, Vivian.
Have a good week. Good to meet you too. Bye.